In this video, we're going to take a look at how Postgres treats different types of strings. So these are all character types. We already took a look at character types much earlier in the course. I just want to do a very quick reminder. Now remember, these are all types that we're going to apply when we are trying to create a table. So for example, if we're creating a table for products, we might have a name column and a department column, and we might annotate those two column types as varchar and varchar, which means we want to store a string inside them. Now, one other thing, if you skipped the last video, to test out these different types, I want you to go back over to pgadmin, open up the database section, right-click on any database inside of here, and then click on Query Tool. We did this in the last video, so this is just in case you skipped that video. To test out these different types of data, we can put in something like select, and then parentheses, and then something like 1.2 or 12 point blah, 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 and then colon, integer. And then we can click play at the very top. So this right here is going to tell Postgres that we want it to take this number of 12.123 and then treat it as though it were an integer. So by clicking on play, we can see how Postgres is going to interpret that value if we provide it and say that it is an integer. So we're going to repeat the same process in this video for a couple of these different character types, and again, just get a reminder on how they work. So the first type we're going to take a look at is char. This is for storing a fixed length of characters. If we provide a number after char, and we provide a string to Postgres that is longer than 5 characters, then Postgres is going to trim characters until it just gets down to 5. And likewise, if we provide a string less than 5 characters, Postgres is going to insert spaces to the right-hand side until it gets up to 5. So let's try this out really quickly. Back over here, inside the parentheses, I'm going to put in some gibberish, and then char 3. So again, that means take this value right here, treat it as though it were a character 3. Let's run that. If you get an error like this right here, no problem, just click play again. And you can see very easily that the string has been trimmed down to just 3 characters. If we provide only 1 character, so let's say just A by itself, and click play, it looks like we only have 1 character here, but you can double click in that cell, and if you do a little bit of highlighting, you'll see that 2 spaces have been added in to the right of the A to get us up to 3 characters long. Okay, so that's a char. We also have access to varchar. If we put in varchar, that means we can essentially store any length of string. If we put in a number after it, and we provide a string longer than 40 characters in this case, then any extra characters will be removed automatically. Let's try out an example of that as well. I'll put in some gibberish again, and then I'll change the type to varchar 5. I'm going to run that, and we could see very easily we didn't get an error. Instead, Postgres just trimmed this entire string down to 5 characters. If we put in a string less than 5 characters, no spaces will be added, as was the case with char. So if we have just A by itself, it's just A by itself. No extra space characters get added for us. Finally, text. So very much like varchar, store any length of string. That's pretty much it. So we can change this type right here to text, and then put anything in, and that's what we get back. That's pretty much it. Now, just so you know, there is no performance difference between these different character types, which is kind of unlike many other types of databases. So you should pick the type that best suits your application. You don't have to worry about trying to pick the exact correct value of varchar in order to optimize any performance or anything like that. If you want to have some arbitrary length string, you can pick varchar or text. It really doesn't matter behind the scenes. Putting on the limit right there, no performance benefit whatsoever. It's just doing some validation for you to make sure that you don't accidentally input some string that is really, really, really long. All right, so that's pretty much it for character types. In general, we're going to follow the rule that we've seen throughout the course already. We're going to make use of varchar, and we are going to put the character limit on there. Again, not for performance, but just to make sure that we don't accidentally store any string that is way too long. Okay, so that's pretty much it for character types. Quick pause right here, and we're going to move on to our next category in just a moment.